Probeer om te keren. Dan links afslaan naar Rogers Road.
There's Stanley calling you back to the dark side.
I honestly should have just had a one-word review for this show, and it should just be the word calm.
Which I love.
Links afslaan naar Rogers Road.
Italy is on the National Geographic Channel Saturday at 10 p.m. On Disney Plus.
Over 200 meter. Links afslaan naar Winfield Road. Dan links afslaan naar B7014, Dunsdale Road.
Thank you, darling. Oh yeah, I can't wait. No one will hear from me all weekend. I'll just be in a rival's coma. That'll be me. Bye, my darling. Thank you so much. Isn't he amazing, Scott Bryan?
Links afslaan naar Winfield Road. Dan links afslaan naar B7014, Dunsdale Road.
Starting the conversation every weekday morning. It's funny how we text more than we actually talk these days, isn't it?
Links afslaan naar B7014, Dunsdale Road.
Exactly that. Real voices, real reactions. Somebody's takes, not yours. And that's the point, isn't it? When we talk, like really talk, things get more interesting.
Over 1,3 kilometer. Links afslaan naar A7.
Join Martin Geisler and Laura McKeever for Radio Scotland Breakfast. Listen tomorrow morning from 6 on BBC Radio Scotland and 6.
I'm a mess right now. Can you help me out? 'Cause it's all gone south. Oh Lord, be glad but no hope. 'Cause the pills don't work. They just make it worse. So when the rights are going wrong, and I'm barely holding on, baby, hear when I sing. Oh, would you stay low?
Over 500 meter. Links afslaan.
Can be cruel sometimes. It's the perfect crime with an alibi, and I try.
Links afslaan naar A7.
But that's a fighter's fight, and I'm the loving type. Oh, so when the rights are going wrong, and I'm barely holding on, baby, hear when I sing. Oh, would you stay low when everybody's leaving? Come on, stay.
Over 2,5 kilometer. Rechts afslaan naar B6360.
The new one from Lewis Capaldi, that's Stay Love. You're listening to BBC Radio Scotland. Michelle McManus with you until 3:30 p.m. today, and then we cross over to join Len Penny.
Rechtsafslaan naar B6360.
And check in with the award-winning Len Penny. Hello, Len Penny.
Hello, Michelle McManus.
Hello, darling. How are you?
Not very well, how are you?
Sounding a bit chipper today, same as myself.
Look, if I haven't smiled then, it hasn't been smiled then. My face is hurting because I knew I would speak with you, and then I was very jealous because you were talking to David.
Over 3,5 kilometer. Op de rotonde neem de derde afslag naar A6091 towards Edinburgh.
The loveliest guy you could ever wish to
So chill as well.
I know, I just want to say thank you for being everything and more. Then
I
I
feel like
thought,
sometimes I want to tell him he's David Tennant.
I know, and I thought I better not go too much. He's going to get restrained order against me if I continue on with this down this path. He's like, okay, bye, Dave, bye. David, I love you.
Just when the mic's faded, you're like, David, I love you.
I actually did this the other day when I was on the phone. I was cancelling my wee boy's optometrist appointment, and the guy was on the phone, and I was like, listen, I can't make it this day. And he's like, right, okay, you'll get a letter out from the NHS. I went, thank you, love you. And I was like,
It's just an impulse, isn't it?
I'm doing it more often now. The guy's like, okay, bye.
You didn't tell him you're back. Rude. The thing is, I'd be annoyed that I'd made the mistake, but I'd be more annoyed if someone didn't reciprocate.
He 100% didn't reciprocate, let me tell you that. That was not a...
If only he knew it was the one, the only, the legend, the man, the myth, the legend, Michelle McManus.
I did go under my married name. I'll forgive him for that then.
If he knew, he'd be like,
I was swinging out the old memo name. I didn't go anywhere near the big McManus. Who's on the show today?
Well, it is a what, because today is a very special Pitlochry Festival Theatre
Don't you dare.
episode 75th anniversary. We have so many people. I'm going to be talking to John Tiffany, who's directing the production that'll be kicking off their inaugural season. Once, he did the movie, he's doing the theatre production now, and we're going to be talking to the one, the only, Alan Cumming.
Oh my god, do you know how much I love Alan Cumming? So wait a minute, I've been talking to David Tennant. You're just like, hold my beer, and you're going to start talking to Alan Cumming.
Yeah, Alan is a affectionately referred.
Oh, of course you, because this is not your first rodeo with Alan, is it? Do you know, I went to see the highlights the other night. It was at the King's Theatre. It was out of this world. Actually see Alan Cumming on stage. It was such a joy and treat. Forbes Masson was
I was
amazing.
going to say
Siobhan.
Forbes, yeah, I spoke to Forbes about it. Genuinely, it seems like a passion, but like an absolute act of love and joy.
But honestly, Johnny McKnight's written that, and you and I both are massive fans of Johnny McKnight. Louise McCarthy is the role. I don't want to give away what her role is, but for the last 10 minutes alone in this show, Louise McCarthy deserves all the awards. She was fantastic.
Just a talent fest all round.
It was. So you've got Alan. I'll call him Alan if you're calling.
I mean, shall we call him Al?
Let's go. We'll call Simon it and we'll just do it.
Over 1 kilometer. Op de rotonde neem de derde afslag naar A6091 towards Edinburgh.
Festival Theatre. It's so embedded in the community. It's such an incredible place of art, of culture, of everything that you want from this kind of theatre.
Oh my goodness. And what's my Scots word of phrase of the day? I mean, it's got to be something sparkly and starry after all that chat.
Oh no. Right, these are picked in advance, okay? Blight. Blight. What do you think blight means?
I don't know, but it's not sounding like it's a good thing.
It's a verb or a doing word. It means to rub.
To rub?
To rub something like your eyes, you would blight me.
Have a good rub at something? I didn't know that's the way this conversation was going today.
Your eyes. It's like, you know, your eyes.
Yeah, you can rub your eyes.
Tired, fatigue.
Yeah.
Yeah, you may want to like rub your eyes. Cause the other
Op de
day.
rotonde neem de derde afslag naar A6091 towards Edinburgh.
I was not equipped to answer those questions. Because people were messaging in and going, by the way, you know, I'm just telling producer Lewis, we're probably not going to hit any songs. I'm going to have to talk about it. That's fine. He's nodding. We're chatting away. But because you said, obviously, the plural of cow is kai.
Yeah, in Scots.
In Scots, right?
What people argue?
And then somebody was shouting at me for Orkney going, no, it's not, that's what we call cows in Orkney. Everybody else is coos and cows.
Over 1,2 kilometer. Op de rotonde neem de tweede afslag naar B6360 towards Melrose. Dan gebruik de linker rijstrook om links af te slaan naar B6374.
Oh, look, I just put them towards you. I just put them in your direction.
You've got to stand behind the courage of our convictions.
I was like, she's got over 300 million people or whatever it is following her.
I feel like that might be a slight.
Well, see, I have a good few million anyway. She's one of the young people with loads and loads of followers. I was like, go and take up the lane. She'll love to discuss this with you. She'll have a right good gab about it.
Nothing I love more than a spirited debate about our language.
Yeah, I know. God.
But you can also
Over
say two. I'm
500
not saying you
meter.
can't say
Op de rotonde neem de tweede
one
afslag.
person in order. If you probably
Dan
listen
gebruik de
right,
linker
I agree with
rijstrook
you.
om
You're
linksaf te
absolutely right.
slaan
Say,
naar B6374.
I'm too conflict averse for that.
Who's ever going to take you on, man? I mean, I certainly wouldn't like it
Op
up
de
for
rotonde
that.
neem de tweede afslag naar B6360 towards Melrose. Dan gebruik de linker rijstrook om linksaf te slaan naar B6374.
Love you, bye.
Love you. I've waited. How long have I waited for that? Love you too. Bye. We'll cross over Eastern Join Lane at 3:30. Right, I've got a million and one things to do here that I have not done. I also want to read out a quick text. We've been asking you to get in touch about names. It means something to you if you've named a pet or a child after a particular person. This is all because a baby was born in Wales on Sir David Attenborough's actual 100th birthday, which was the 8th of May. My birthday too, but my name didn't get a look in.
Gebruik de linker rijstrook om linksaf te slaan naar B6374.
After Michelle, when our youngest son was born, my husband and I agreed on naming him Kevin. When he finally came into the world, the nurse asked what we were going to call him, and my hubby said Kevin Paul. When I asked him, where did Paul come from? He said, well, Pope John Paul's coming to Belarus.
Over 1,6 kilometer. Op de rotonde sla rechtsaf naar Easter Langley.
We're looking for those special names. Something you might have named a baby or an animal or something after somebody special or a famous person. 80295 is the text. You can email Radio Scott Afternoons at bbc.co.uk. You can also WhatsApp message or voice note. I love a wee voice note, so I do. 08085 92 95 00. Also, we have to check in with Rewind. Earlier I played you this clip. Honest, if you don't get it for that, there's no help for you at all. We're going to reveal the answer after the 3 o'clock news, so you need to be really quick. Same numbers again, 80295 is the text. You can email Radio Scott Afternoons at bbc.co.uk. You can also send a message or a voice note via WhatsApp 08085 92 95 00, or don't forget, you can just say to your smart speaker, ask BBC Sounds to send a message. Loads to come in the show, including that Rewind reveal. But taking you up to the news now with us here on BBC News Scotland. Pilton. Across Scotland with the latest news, sport, music and culture.
On digital radio.
BBC Sounds.
And your smart speaker.
Play BBC Radio Scotland.
The news at 3 o'clock with Nina Litzuri. West Streeting has resigned as Health Secretary and launched a withering attack on the ways in the country. He hasn't yet announced whether he will challenge the Prime Minister for the leadership of the Labour Party and of the country. The Labour MP, Alan Gemmell, is backing West Streeting.
From the voters I've talked to across Ayrshire, people told me they couldn't vote for the Prime Minister. Wes says in his letter where there is, where we need vision, there's vacuum, where we need direction, there's drift, and I've experienced that.
Op de rotonde sla rechtsaf naar Easter Langley.
Earlier, the former Deputy Prime Minister, Angela Rayner, said that she had been cleared of wrongdoing over her tax affairs. She said she had paid the £40,000 of stamp duty she owed on the purchase of her flat in Hove and didn't have to pay a penalty. Sources close to Ms Rayner have told the BBC she would be prepared to enter a leadership contest if necessary as a candidate of the centre-left. The Skills Minister, Baroness Smith, said it was too early for the party to be turning on its leader.
It is a pretty short period of time after which to be changing the leadership. My fear would be that the thing that will throw off the ability of this government to deliver will be if we turn into the sort of chaos that we have seen over recent years.
Here, MSPs have been officially sworn into the Scottish Parliament following the Holyrood election. All 129 parliamentarians, including 64 first-time MSPs, swore allegiance to the King. On the first day of parliamentary business since last week's election, members will also vote to elect a new presiding officer. A historic site in Edinburgh, which has been in the hands of the Catholic Church since 1834, is to be put up for sale. It's the latest in a string of Scotland's sacred buildings being sold off in recent years. Jennifer Wilson has more.
The Gillis Centre complex is to be put on the market by the Archdiocese of St Andrews in Edinburgh in September due to maintenance costs. Archbishop Leo Cushley said after a long review, it had been decided investment into the Edinburgh site would not be the best use of resources. Church events will continue to take place until the historic site is sold. The Catholic Church and Church of Scotland have said changing congregations and financial issues have led to more of Scotland's sacred buildings being sold.
Glasgow City Council has favoured plans to demolish a key stretch of Scotland's busiest motorway. Temporary works on the Woodside viaducts, which carry the M8 on the north side of the Kingston Bridge, has been ongoing for years at a cost of £152 million. Transport Scotland is consulting on options for a more permanent fix, with the cheapest being to remove that section. Fans of the Eurovision Song Contest are gathering in Vienna for the second semi-final. 10 of today's 15 competitors will get a chance to sing for the Glass Trophy on Saturday. A former Love Island star, Antigone Buxton, will be representing Cyprus, even though she's born and bred in London.
The thing is, for me, I love London, I love the UK, I was born and raised there, but my music generally is like with bouzouki, with elements. It would feel like I was doing it just for the platform.
Well, no, it is over to sport here at Leith.
Thank you. Don Robertson will take charge of Saturday's Scottish Premiership title decider between Celtic and Hearts, while Kevin Clancy is the VAR. That news comes after a dramatic night where Celtic were awarded an injury time penalty that led to a 3-2 win over Motherwell. Celtic now trail by 1 point. Meanwhile, the Foundation of Hearts shareholder group have released a statement sharing concern at recent decisions, also stating that the club has made representations to authorities seeking clarification. They also asked that the highest standards of decision-making are applied in that game. In golf, former Ryder Cup captain Colin Montgomery believes Scotland's Robert McIntyre has every chance of lifting his first major, but winning one isn't inevitable. Montgomery says he may have to show a little more patience. McIntyre came close last season, finishing second at the US Open, and he tees off his PGA Championship campaign shortly before 7 p.m. this evening. Rory McIlroy is level through 3 holes, playing alongside Jordan Spieth and John Ram, with Stefan Jaeger and Cameron Smith, the early pace setters, on 3 under par. And that's all the sport.
Travel news now in Bridge of Dawn in Aberdeen. The A92 Ellen Road is partially blocked southbound. That's between the B999 and the Parkway East. That is due to a vehicle fire. It's very slow there just now. And the A9 in Perth partially blocked by a breakdown at Inverarmond roundabout. It's on the roundabout, so do expect delays. Showers most frequent across inland parts of the mainland, heavy at times with hail and thunder, and breezy too. A very cool 9 to 11 Celsius in the north and east, 13 in the south and the west. And that is BBC Radio Scotland News.
Afternoons with Michelle McManus. Listen on BBC Radio Scotland and Sounds.
It's Thursday, you're listening to Afternoons Live here on BBC Radio Scotland. If you're just joining us, welcome. Come away and we're about to reveal the answer to today's rewind quiz. We can't do that if you've not heard the clip, so here it is. Do you think you know the answer? 80295 is the text. You'll need to be quick. I'm looking for the name and the artist. Here's Bon Jovi. What do you fancy doing today, John?
Sing a song for the broken hearted.
That's exactly what we're going to do. The moment of truth has arrived. Here's that clip from earlier. Did you get it right? Lots of you did, and I'm so glad. It's an absolute banger. Because, of course, share and believe. I'll read out all the names that got it right after I've heard it the way it was intended. Excuse us while we big box, small box in the studio.
Over 1 kilometer. Links afslaan. Links afslaan naar Milwind.
Oh, there's no one punning me going the
Over
right way in this
300
studio.
meter.
We are dancing
Links
for
afslaan
dear
naar
life,
Marketplace.
and why not?
Dan
It's a
links
tune and a
afslaan
half.
naar
Share
A68
believe is the answer to
Marketplace.
today's rewind quiz. Let's see who got it right. Phil the Janny, boom. I think you went in first in. Phil, you were quick off the mark anyway. Celia Mulguy, well done to you. Mark Kelly in Michigan. Thelma and Louise on tour in Orkney, loving that. John B in East Lothian. Tracy and everyone at Chest, Heart and Stroke Scotland in Newton Mearns. It's Share and Life After Love, believe you are correct. Alan Mark's got it right. John the director, well done to you son. Mark from a very sunny but windy Northern Ireland. William Figleska, Granny Annie in Edinburgh, Alistair in Inverness, Brian from Irvine, Smithy in Denny said, listen, it's just too obvious today. I love it. I'm loving the confidence. Isabel in Girvan, Sir Young Cat of a Craigentinny on tour in the Black Isle, David from Aberdeen. But the weather just can't make up its mind, apparently. Chelsea and Steve-O in Neilston, well done to you. Andy in Virginia. We've got Mrs. McDonald and our lovely dog. Thank you for that, Mrs. McDonald. Mandy from Leithen, Helen in Weemsby, John in Inverness, Catherine in Edinburgh, just being battered by marble-sized hailstones. Is it hailstone in Edinburgh? Oh my goodness, better let Lynn Penny know, she'll love that. We've also got Fiona in a sunny Pilton, Charlie and Geraldine from a very cold Langshaw. Honest to God, I just hear them, you know, every time Charlie and Geraldine message now because they're not in Menorca. I also have to address something, right, on behalf of producer Lewis. So many of you got in touch today just saying share, believe. So he's put them all to one side, and it starts off, so he puts notes in for me sometimes just to catch my attention, because let's be honest, I'm alone to myself when I'm on air. So the notes start off, please ask the listener if they could leave their name. And as we progress, till we get right up the top where it's in block capitals going, folks, can you leave your name? So what I'm going to say to you is, please take some credit and some glory for getting it right. Don't just drop us an anonymous text, please. For producer Lewis's blood pressure alone.
Links afslaan naar Marketplace. Dan links afslaan naar A68 Marketplace.
So let's just make sure everybody gets their name in. Nicola, lovely Nicola, will have another rewind for you tomorrow. I am sure of that. Right, okay, let's get a bit of Rod Stewart on for you now. I don't want to talk about it. We won't mention the anonymous text anymore. We'll just let you have the soothing tones of
Links afslaan naar A68 Marketplace.
I can tell by your eyes that you've probably been crying forever.
Over 6,3 kilometer. Op de rotonde neem de eerste afslag naar A68 towards Edinburgh.
farting about there. I don't want to talk about it. I need to say a big sorry to Joanna from Aberdeen. She said, Michelle, hold of us. I left you a wee voice note for the email there today, which by the way was correct. You never gave me a mention. And I did leave you my name. Joanna, I can only apologise. I don't know why that voice note didn't come through. You know, our technology here at BBC is state of the art. I don't know why that didn't come through. But I know. Laura Max was like, aye, right. I said, no chance. Somebody's in the background, right, peddling just to keep it going.
No, I'm not saying that about our technology at all. It's as well I'm not in charge of the tech. I can't work most of these things.
No, we never got that voice now. I can't apologise enough. Joanna, you did get it right. I'll give you a very special mention. No, our technology's fabulous here. Laura and I both agree. Laura Maxwell is here. Well, let's find out what's coming up on Drive Time at 4 o'clock. I mean, it is a day of questions.
Of all the questions for you, was it or wasn't it a penalty? Let's start with that one, because I know you're still talking about it. Everybody's still talking about it.
Yeah.
The VAR controversy in the Scottish Premiership title race. We will get reaction, opinion, some of it expert even. You never know. Might get somebody that actually knows what they're talking about. We'll be hearing from a ref. Willie Hermonti is the next question as well. Wes Streeting has resigned as Health Secretary from the UK Cabinet, but still hasn't announced if he is going to launch a leadership bid, so we'll be looking at that. As new MSPs are sworn in at Holyrood, we'll be looking at who's going to become the presiding officer, essentially the referee of the Scottish Parliament. And I've been out this morning. They let me out of the box this morning. I went out for a wee game of golf.
Lovely.
With two Southsiders of Glasgow who have been cutting the grass at a long overgrown golf course which has been shut for the last 6 years.
And they're bringing it back to life.
Well, they just needed somewhere to practice, so they took a lawnmower out.
But I love that. I love that community spirit. I'm just like that whole do-it-yourself. Talking of Rod Stewart, he did that with the pothole. Remember at the end? I don't know if you ever saw that. There was a pothole at the end of his very long driveway. So he just got someone out and just started filming it himself.
Gebruik de linkerrijstrook om de rotonde op te rijden en dan neem de eerste afslag.
Kept losing their tyres too, and he took, I'm sure this is not allowed, so I'm not going to tell you his name.
No.
He had spare concrete mix lying at the back of the house, and he went and took it down one night and filled it.
There is nothing worse when there is a killer pothole that you know every day and you forget about it. And I don't know how many times we went through it. The one next to us down the pole with you, you go into the water.
Well, the next time that happens, Michelle,
I know
I
what
want
you
to
call.
see you out. No, I want to see you out fixing it.
Oh, me? Oh,
With your wee yellow jacket on like Ron Stewart.
My wee hard hat. There's a vision for everybody. Laura, thank you so much. We will be tuning into Drive Time as always at 4 o'clock today. A very, very busy show. Let's squeeze in another track where this is Shania Twain.
Op de rotonde neem de eerste afslag naar A68
Well,
towards
like
Edinburgh.
head to toe in like a friend like Shania just thumbing at the side of the road. That don't impress me much. It impresses us.
Thought they were pretty smart, but you got being right down to the heart. You think you're a genius, you drive me up the wall. You're regular, original, know it all. Oh, you think you're special. Oh, you think you're something else. Okay, so you're a rocket scientist. That don't impress me much. So you Brad Pitt. That don't impress me much. So you got the looks, but have you got the touch? Now don't get me wrong, yeah, I think you're alright, but that might be over the middle of the night. That don't impress me much.
between. That don't impress me much. That's almost it from me today. Last text has come in from Rosie in Linwood. Hi Michelle, my name, my wee budgie, Shinsuke, after former Celtic player Shinsuke Nakamura. Last night was the first time he finally chucked was the first words when he shouted, that was definitely a penalty. I'm just having a wee laugh. Rosie, thank you. It's completely finished, producer Russo for the day. Thank you. Tomorrow Nicola will be here. Lovely Nicola. She'll be joined by comedians Phil Jupiter and Craig Hill. And she'll have the pick of the week's film releases too. Afternoons continues now with a brilliant and award-winning Len Penny and the Arts Mix. I'm going to leave you with this from Heaven 17. Have a wonderful Thursday. I'll see you on Monday.
I'll never be closer. I try to understand that certain feeling carved by another's hand. But it's too late to hesitate. We can't keep on living like this.
The Arts Mix with Len Penny. Listen on BBC Radio Scotland and Sounds.
Hello and welcome to the Arts Mix here on BBC Radio Scotland, bringing you the very best in arts and culture. Today we have a very special programme dedicated to Pitlochry Festival Theatre, which is marking its 75th anniversary on Tuesday, to be precise. It's set in the banks of the River Tummel and started life as a collection of tents in the hills. Rooted in its Perthshire community, it's a valued member of a select group of theatres that still create shows in-house, and its birthday coincides with the inaugural season, shaped by its new artistic director, the award-winning actor of stage and screen, producer and director Alan Cumming. Later on in today's programme, I'll be talking to John Tiffany, the director of the production kicking off the inaugural season, the award-winning original Broadway musical Once, and finding out more about the history of this unique theatre. But before all that, let's start today's Arts Mix by hearing from Alan Cumming himself. I chatted to him earlier this week, and I started by picking up on something that he had said about how he sees his role at Pitlochry as a Pied Piper for the theatre. What did he mean by that?
That wasn't actually my initial pitch to the board, but I did say it in an interview. I mean, what I meant from that was that I felt that I was someone who had discovered Pitlochry and how amazing it is, and the facilities, and the theatre, and the sort of possibility, and I was going to sort of, trumpet all that and encourage people to come and join me there. So I'm sort of, a little bit of a Pied Piper in that, trying to get people to follow me to a magical place.
And you mentioned they're discovering the theatre. I was wondering, how did you discover the theatre? Because you're from, the local area. Was it something that you'd come across before?
No, that's what's so crazy. I mean, I obviously knew of its existence, but I literally only ever went to Pitlochry Festival Theatre for the first time in 2023, when I was shooting the Channel 4 documentary series about the Royal Scotsman train. That was literally the first time I'd ever been. And there are many reasons for that. I think partly, I'd lived outside of America for a long time, but when I was working in Scotland as an actor in the theatre, it was a kind of a no-go area for Scottish actors at that point. I was told not even to bother auditioning in the 80s. Obviously, that's a long time ago and things have changed, but then, and also because of the rep system, it didn't have a sort of touring thing, so although I toured a lot of shows in my young days, none of them ever went to Pitlochry, so I just kind of missed it. And then all of a sudden, it felt like it was an incredible, it did feel like Brigadoon, that there was suddenly this magical place right on my doorstep. And then all of a sudden, I'm running it.
And was its history and its longevity, because I mean this is 75 years, was it something that really moved you and wanted you to be involved in the theatre's next chapter? Was it something that struck you?
Yes, and I felt like, my experience of it, 40 years ago when they said don't audition because it's sort of only employ, bring people up from London. I felt like that was what I thought it was this sort of rep system that was kind of a little antiquated, and I realised that's a certain time it was like that. But over the 75 years, certainly when it started, it was celebrating the very best of Scottish theatre in the same way that I hope to be doing that in my time. And so, 75 years is a long time. It's gone in and out of different sort of areas of style and success and stuff, but at the very beginning of it was a man from Glasgow who came and just sort of manifested making a theatre, a summer festival in the Scottish Highlands, and bringing people from afar to come and make really great theatre there. And that's essentially what I'm doing, but just sort of for a bit longer than the summer.
And Pitlochry Festival Theatre, I mean, it's got such a loyal audience. What has the response been like locally to your directorship?
I have to say it's been incredibly supportive. I've been, I walk down the street and go to the co-op, and everybody's just telling me, well, thanks, Alan, thanks for what you're doing. So, I feel really great support, really palpable support from people who are locals. I think I've really made a point of reaching out to the local community as well, both in terms of, encouraging local businesses to kind of come back and help us. And in this new season, there's some plays are being sponsored by local hotels and things, and also just try to encourage the community to use the building more. And really, although I'm sort of making it as international centre, I'm also at the same time encouraging the locals to remember it belongs to them. I feel so supported. Of course, you get the odd kind of person who I have a little email address you can write to me at, and sometimes I think that might have been a bad idea, but often it's really some gems come in. But of course you do get it tends to be the naysayers and the people who are a little the equivalent of furious from Tunbridge Wells, who are the loudest. And we have a system though that we can tell by people's names and things when they last came to the theatre because of the wonders of modern surveillance. So I think it's hilarious when someone criticises me for stopping doing the rep system and they haven't actually booked a ticket in the theatre for 15 years. I want to kind of just take a puff on my cigarette and just, move on when that happens. But on the whole, it's been completely positive.
You mentioned ending the rep system there, and I wanted to ask you about that and sort of why it didn't fit with your artistic vision.
Well, I mean, it didn't fit with my artistic vision because I knew the kind of work I wanted to do and the kind of people I wanted to come wouldn't come for 7 months, for the whole length of the duration of the rep season. They just couldn't, you know, their diaries wouldn't allow that. So, but they would come for just 2, and that's what I've done. So it's partly that. It was partly that a rep system means that you have to have sets that are basically similar enough to be turned around in an afternoon between a matinee and an evening as a different set. So they've got to be taken down and a new one put up. And so that really limits what you can do with, you know, artistically with the sets and just physically. So that was something as well, because I feel design is a really huge part of the theatre, and I'm so excited about the range of designs we've got this season. So that was another thing. And also, you know, in a rep system, you have a group of actors. Inevitably, at some point, there's going to be people who are miscast, and that's just the way it is. And that's also sometimes the glory of a rep system and how lovely that is. And I also wanted to give more work to more people, and that is basically what this does. Like, there are many, many more people going to be working for us because of all the different shows. They will work for, yes, a lesser time than if they were in the rep company before, but it will spread the love a lot more. And also, the final thing, which is something that the theatre wanted to do, but kind of I was the catalyst, it's not financially viable as a model to do that system anymore. So it's much easier to, because if we want to move things to other places and do co-productions, we can only do it with either a show at the beginning of the season or the end of the season because of the rep system. So there was lots and lots and lots of reasons, but basically I just wanted, and also I think it's, you know, it's time for a change. I'm a new person, I've got new energy, I'm going to be inviting a new type of person and a new type of show to come, so it makes sense that we go to a new type of performance style.
And in the spirit of newness, we should talk about your inaugural season. It's starting with the Tony and Olivier award-winning musical Once, for which you have assembled the original creative team. It includes director John Tiffany. Why did you want to start the season with this production?
I love that show so much. I saw it when it premiered in New York in 2011 or something. I love it. It's a beautiful, beautiful show. It's never been performed in Scotland. And also, you know, part of my thing when I started, I just asked loads of my friends to help me. John says I kind of put out the bat, you know, the bat call. And I asked him if I wanted to do Once. It was proving difficult with rights and things, and then I talked to him about it. And he said he would, the way we could do it was if he came back and did the production, the original production. He brought everybody. And it's sort of a testament to friendship and, you know, the power of friendship in the theatre and the great work that John and Stephen and I have done in the past, and they are coming and they're having such a great time revisiting this beautiful show after so long. And I wanted to also open with a musical, because I know that I love musicals, but I want to maybe expand the range of titles that we might do at Pitlochry from just sort of well-known older musicals. And so it just seemed that all the confluence of all those things, and that Once is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in the theatre. So there's that as well.
And another notable production is coming up in July. It's Maureen Beattie starring in a reimagined King Lear. And you've said that Maureen is someone who changed your life. Tell me about that relationship.
She was part of a theatre and education company that came to my primary school when I was about 8 and did a show in our dinner hall that I remember was about the Highland clearances. We were all sitting there, they'd moved all around us, sort of a promenade production, and I just was mesmerised. And I actually remember thinking, gosh, I'm learning more about the Highland clearances from this play than I did from the class we had about it. And I remember I saw them packing up their trunks and putting them in a van and going off to the next school. And then, I don't know, when I was 20 anyway, I was at drama school and I was allowed off to do Macbeth at the Tron Theatre. My first job, the first play Michael Boyd directed as artistic director there. And Maureen was playing Lady Macbeth brilliantly. And one night when we were all having a drink, we sort of said, oh, when did you know you wanted to become an actor? And I told that story about my school. And she sort of went, wait, what? What? And then she said, I think I was in that company. And it was her. And it was also Gregor Fisher. And, oh gosh, somebody else really amazing. Ron Bain, I think was, yeah, it was a very starry TIE company.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was, so she, you know, inadvertently changed my life, because from then on I was just captured by the magic of theatre, really. And to have her in my first season, and also doing this incredibly incredible version of Lear, and Fintan Hertog, who's directing it, has adapted it, and it's about now, of course, she's plays Lear as a woman, as a queen, so it's about a mother and her daughters, rather than a father and his daughters, and so I think it takes on a completely different resonance. And also, you know, I want to do great classic plays, but I don't want to just do them in the boring old way that they're always done. I'm fed up of, you know, seeing another old white actor whose turn has come to play Lear. I think this is an exciting way to not only shake things up a bit, but also to reinterpret a classic and do it in a new and exciting and modern way.
What an amazing full circle moment, Maureen.
Yeah, isn't it great?
Lovely. And thinking about what else is in store for the season, I mean, you're acting alongside Shirley Henderson in the musical play The History of Paper, directing Simon Russell Beale in a new play I'll Be Seeing You. You're doing so much. What is this role allowing you to do, to tap into creatively that you've not been able to do thus far?
Well, I think it's kind of, I mean, well, this is probably an example right here. In my life, in my career, I've done 2 musicals on stage. I've done quite a lot more. I've done quite a few films and things. I've done cabaret several times and the Threepenny Opera. In this year, because of right now I'm at the King's Theatre in Glasgow, you know, I'm about to go and do the High Life musical, which is not with Pitlochry, but I'm doing it this year. And I'm also this year I'll be doing a history paper and My Fair Lady at Pitlochry. So in 1 year I will be doing more musicals than I've done in the rest of my life. And I feel that's what Pitlochry is doing for me. That's kind of a huge change, and you know, because there are shorter runs and I'm just able to do things underneath each other. I mean, that to me is incredible, and I find it incredibly exciting. And it is a lot this year. This year is packed. I mean, I probably won't be doing so much in the coming years, but I think I have to put my money where my mouth was.
Alan Cumming, Artistic Director of Pitlochry Festival Theatre there. Today, in a very special edition of the Arts Mix, I am marking the venue's 75th birthday, and it's time now to delve into the history of the theatre and what makes it so unique. I'm joined by Colin Little, Honorary President and former Chair of the Theatre, as well as a local historian. His new book is called Scotland's Theatre in the Hills, 75 Years of Pitlochry Festival Theatre. Hello, Colin.
Hello, hello.
So, we heard there from Alan a very brief mention of how it all started 75 years ago. I wanted to hear more about that, so take me back to the theatre's beginning, which I believe was around World War II.
Yeah, it was during the war, and John Stewart, who was in his early 40s then, living in Glasgow, running a theatre in Glasgow, determined that a theatre could function in beautiful countryside. He'd seen theatres in places like Malvern, and he was determined that theatre should be more than just the play. It should be the whole surroundings, the whole experience, dinner beforehand, drinks during or after, and he was very determined that it shouldn't just be about the play, because if the play was awful, then the evening may not have been a success. And so he began planning, and he closed his theatre in Glasgow, and he said, rather wistfully, Glasgow's loss will be Scotland's gain. And so he then planned on everything that needed to be done for the creation of a theatre after the war. There was a lack of building materials, and undaunted, he decided he would create a tent. And so that's exactly what he did. He got together a tent and built it into the grounds of the building that he'd bought in the middle of residential Pitlochry. And it opened on the 19th of May 1951. At the time of the Festival of Britain, which is why we have the word festival in Pitlochry Festival Theatre, and we felt it's very important to keep that connection, even though some people may get confused that they think we have a festival that only lasts for a month or two. It lasts all year round now.
You mentioned there, you know, since 1951, the tents being such a big part of Pitlochry. It was so nice to see a picture of that opening in the press materials, and the theatre, you know, in the present site, opened with the performance of Storm in a Teacup on the 19th of May in 1981. The theatre surely wasn't in tents all that time, was it?
It was, although it cheated after the second year, because in the second year there was a storm that tore the tent completely, And unfortunately, John Stewart didn't have enough money to proceed with a new tent, and so that was when his altruism came into play. The theatre was more important than him, and he arranged for a charity to be created, the charity that still runs the theatre, and he donated everything he had to it, so that it could then obtain funds and create a static building over the top of the tent, and the tent was pinned to the ceiling of that static building. It meant that the king poles could be discarded, it meant that the sides of the tent no longer blew in the wind, and it provided some exterior space within that sort of structure for a restaurant and a bar in more comfort. And that building stayed until 1981. The new theatre, as people still call it, was opened exactly the same date, 19th of May, 30 years after the original tent was erected.
Calling the first, the first production being Storm in a Teacup after the storm damage seems a bit like tempting fate. And thinking of these big moments, and Alan Cumming mentioned musicals a lot in his interview earlier.
Yes,
There were
yes.
so many big moments for the theatre. 2009, its first musical, Whiskey Galore, and then the theatre has obviously evolved over time, as you've been saying, but one of the forced evolutions was really in 2020 with the COVID-19 pandemic. How did the theatre respond to that?
Well, yes, it had had a crisis before when the Scottish Arts Council, in its wisdom and in its last decision in 2010, decided to cut the theatre's subsidy completely and without warning. Did the same to the Bar. The Bar had to close. Our theatre was determined to continue. And then the next interruption was COVID. We had to be dark, the theatre term for being closed, for 2 years. And we, or the theatre, ran under Elizabeth Newman and Chris Bryce for 437 consecutive days. They put 3 items of artistic merit, whether it was poetry or a little skit or whatever. 437 consecutive days, 3 items every day during COVID to keep people amused through their website. They put on a play by David Gregg, Adventures with the Painted People, which was supposed to be on stage in the second year, and it went on Radio 3 rather than Radio 4 or Radio Scotland, and it garnered 3 million listeners. Absolutely extraordinary. So yes, COVID, we had the hint that COVID, I think most people thought COVID would last a few months. We had the hint that it was going to last a lot longer. And so we used that period when we were closed to build our studio theatre, 173 seats, and to extend the foyer so that it could cater for simultaneous audiences in both the main stage, which has about 530 seats, and the studio. So there was a lot of work done while the theatre was closed, and fantastic that we were able to take that opportunity because we had the funds with which to do so.
It's so brilliant to reflect on the 75 years, everything that's happened, over 500 plays that have been performed. Long may it continue. Colin, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. Colin's book, Scotland's Theatre in the Hills, Colin's book, 75 Years of Pitlochry Festival Theatre, is out now. And next on our Arts Mix special programme today, marking 75 years of Pitlochry Festival Theatre, I'll be chatting to the Tony and Olivier award-winning theatre director John Tiffany, who is leading the original Broadway creative team to present the musical Once at Pitlochry from next week.
Home of every roar. Home of every dream. Home of the Scottish Cup final.
Martin O'Neill against Neil Lennon. What a job he's doing in Dunfermline. They get to the final, but they'll be no old pals act at this particular set. I'm not here to make up the numbers, Saturday night.
Rechts aanhouden naar A199, Sir Harry Lauder Road.
Sportsound brings you the Scottish Cup final, live from Hampden, Saturday the 23rd of May. Listen on BBC Radio Scotland and Sounds.
You're listening to the Arts Mix, very special episode marking the 75th anniversary of Pitlochry Festival Theatre with me, Len Penny, here on BBC Radio Scotland, on FM, online and on your smart speakers. Drive time is coming up at 4, but before that, as we have already heard today, Alan Cumming's tenure as Artistic Director of Pitlochry will be opening with the musical Once. Based on the 2007 film of the same name, the musical premiered in Broadway in 2012, then it went on to have a run in London's West End. It is the only musical ever to have received a Grammy, an Olivier, a Tony and an Academy Award. Once is set in Dublin and tells the story of a street musician, Guy, and Girl, a Czech immigrant, whose relationship develops as they make music together. John Tiffany is directing the show and he joins me now. Welcome, John.
Hi there.
Hi, so this is, it's a seismic moment for Pitlochry. Once is coming to Scotland for the very first time, and for this you are getting the band back together in the original Broadway creative team of you, choreographer Stephen Hoggett and musical director Martin Lowe. You're all bringing this to the Pitlochry stage. What has that been like?
Oh, it's been fantastic. Well, for me, it's like getting the band together and coming back home, because I grew up in Scotland, really. I went to Glasgow University and then I did my apprenticeship at the Traverse, and then I set up the National Theatre of Scotland back in 2005. So, it's interesting that Once has never been here, because my work in Scotland, my time, my experiences, the people of Scotland so shaped everything that went into the creation of Once as a piece of theatre, and so to now be bringing this production to Scotland for the first time is just amazing. And I kind of gave them their choice, really. Like Alan was saying, he sent up the bat signal and said, I'd like Once to open my first season, we had to turn up. Alan turned, but at National Theatre Scotland, I asked him to do the Bacchae back in 2007, and he turned up for me then. So, and what's wrong with coming to Pitlochry for 6 weeks and having the most amazing time in this beautiful theatre in this beautiful countryside?
And Once is a show with so much momentum behind it. Broadway, London. Why do you think audiences have responded so well to it?
I mean, it's a play really about music, and it is a musical, but it's a play about the creation of music, and it's an incredibly skilled cast of 10 actor musicians who are just so talented and such brilliant actors that watching them create all these brilliant songs together is just amazing. The film is almost documentary in style. It's like got cinema verite quality to it, and when I was first approached, it was the Barbara Broccoli who produced the Bond films and then the Bond franchise until recently. She approached me about turning it into a musical, and I thought she was crazy to begin with, because I was like, I just couldn't see this documentary with these incredibly fragile performances becoming a Broadway musical. But I watched the film, and there's a beautiful scene where there's two main characters are called Guy and Girl, and Guy takes Girl to this house party in Dublin, and there's all these people sat around a big table in the kitchen, and they're all doing their turn. They're playing a song, or they're singing a song, or they're reading a poem, and it really took me back to my childhood growing up. My dad played in a brass band, and at the end of the night, everyone would do their turn after a day of competitions, etc. So I thought that'd be a brilliant way in for the audience, and indeed, when they arrive at the theatre, the set is a Dublin pub, and the audience are invited on stage to get a drink at the bar of the set. So they're invited on stage into the pub, and as they're getting a drink, the actors come on stage and they start a jam session playing a mixture of Czech and Irish folk songs, and the audience are all stood around them. And then eventually the actor playing the Guy comes on stage, and he sings the first song of the musical, which is the song Leith, as the characters all melt away, and suddenly the story begins. So the whole thing is like a song sung in a pub.
And you mentioned how important music is to the entire production, and I think we should hear a song from the show now. Falling Slowly won an Academy Award for the original film back in 2007, and here it is performed by Dylan Wood, Lydia White and the cast of the Pitlochry Festival Theatre production. Well, that was Falling Slowly from the
with Laura Maxwell. Coming up this afternoon, was it or wasn't it a penalty? The VAR controversy in the Scottish Premiership title race, we'll be getting reaction to that. So many questions today, will he or won't he? Wes Streeting's resigned as UK Health Secretary, but still hasn't announced if he's launching a leadership bid. As new MSPs are sworn in at Holyrood, they've been voting for their new presiding officer. Within the last few minutes, it's been announced they've chosen the SNP's Kenneth Gibson. And we'll also be hearing from the Southsiders breathing new life into a long-closed golf course in Glasgow. Stay tuned for all of that, but first of all, the news with Nina.
Thank you, Laura. Good afternoon. The Education Secretary, Bridget Phillipson, has insisted the Cabinet is behind the Prime Minister after the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, resigned, saying he'd lost confidence in Sir Keir Starmer. Mr Streeting called for a leadership contest, saying it was clear the Prime Minister would not lead Labour into the next election. Our political correspondent at Downing Street, Alex Forsyth, doesn't think that other high-profile Labour figures will quit.
I think there must be a sense in the Wes Streeting camp that what he's hoping is that this might kind of cause some rumbles elsewhere, perhaps some other resignations. Now, as we're hearing it, some of his key ideological allies in the cabinet, so that's people like Liz Kendall, the Technology Secretary, or Peter Kyle, the Business Secretary, they are not going to resign, we're being told by those close to them. So I don't think this is going to suddenly trigger a tsunami of cabinet resignations.
Well, Sir Keir could face a challenge from the former Deputy Prime Minister, Angela Rayner. Ms Rayner says she's now been exonerated over her tax affairs without having to pay a penalty. She says she's paid £40,000 in unpaid stamp duty on her flat in East Sussex, and HMRC says the case is now closed. The SNP MSP Kenny Gibson has been elected as the new presiding officer of the Scottish Parliament. He managed to win the contest up against his fellow SNP MSP Claire Haughey, Liam MacArthur of the Liberal Democrats, and Stuart McMillan, another SNP MSP, had previously been knocked out. He now gives up any links to his party as he takes on the impartial role. A controversial VAR has left the Scottish Premiership title race down to the wire. Celtic and Hearts will play at Parkhead on Saturday to decide the winner of what's been an intense campaign. It comes after Celtic were awarded a controversial penalty against Motherwell last night. Professor John Underhill is a former Scottish Premiership and European referee.
If you have limited cameras and in certain positions which are fixed and you can't go to other monitors, you're not going to have all the data and evidence that you need to make the best decision. When you get to the sharp end of the season, the business end of the season, you certainly don't want to be stepping in to make decisions which, in this case, change the dynamic of 4 teams, not just the 2 on the park last night, but also Hearts and indeed Hibs.
Glasgow City Council has favoured plans to demolish a key stretch of Scotland's busiest motorway. Temporary work to the Woodside viaducts, which carry the M8 on the north side of the Kingston Bridge, have been ongoing for years at a cost of £152 million. Transport Scotland is consulting on options for a more permanent fix, with the cheapest being to remove that section. A murder suspect from Glasgow is among the 12 most wanted fugitives with links to Spain, according to the National Crime Agency. 62-year-old Derek McGraw Ferguson fled Scotland after a man was shot dead outside a pub in 2007. Thomas Cameron, who was 49, died in the car park of the Auchnairn Tavern in Bishopbriggs. British expats living in Spain and holidaymakers visiting the country are being urged to look at the agency's most wanted list. The second semi-final of this year's Eurovision Song Contest will take place in Vienna this evening. 10 of the 15 acts will make it through to Saturday's grand final. On Monday, the favourites, Finland, Greece and Israel, were among those to qualify. A former Love Island star, Antigone Buxton, will be representing Cyprus tonight, even though she is born and bred in London.
The thing is, for me, I love London, I love the UK, I was born and raised there, but my music generally is like with bouzouki, with all elements. It would feel like I was doing it just for the platform.
Now to the travel in Bridge of Dawn in Aberdeen. The A92 Ellen Road very busy just now. It's partially blocked southbound between the B999 and Parkway East. That's due to a vehicle fire, so expect delays there. And in Perth, the A9 southbound partially blocked around about the Inverarmond roundabout. There's a breakdown there and it's really slowing things down. Showers most frequent across inland parts of the main line. These will be heavy with thunder and hail in the mix too. Very cool at 9 or 11 Celsius in the north and east, 13 in the south and the west. For now, that's BBC Radio Scotland News.
And let's get the very latest sport. Martin, I can't imagine what you might be talking about today.
One tiny football issue, that's all. Our chief sports writer Tom English will join us to pour over the decision last night that led to Celtic beating Motherwell via a controversial penalty after 99 minutes. That leaves Hearts 1 point clear ahead of travelling to face Celtic in a decider for the league title. We'll also look at whether the use of VAR is working full stop. There is other sports news, believe it or not. Colin Montgomery has urged Robert McIntyre to be a little more patient and let it happen as his fellow Scot chases a first major championship. McIntyre gets his PGA championship underway in a few hours.
Martin will be back with you in about half an hour's time with the sport, but you don't have to wait until then to talk about last night, because we're going to do that now. Forget the war in Iran or a leadership challenge to the Prime Minister. Here in Scotland, there's really only one story dominating.
John Beaton is going to have a look at the monitor. And they're looking at that left elbow of Sam Nicholson. Well, this craziest of Scottish football seasons is about to take another hugely dramatic twist. Well, Galashiels has scored some important goals for Celtic in his short time at the club. It's the stuttering run-up, but it's the clinical finish, and it's the goal which keeps Celtic's title sure on the road.
The commentary says it all, and so the drama continues. One fan, the Labour MP for Edinburgh South and Major Jambo in Murray, told our morning's programme that the decision may well cost him the title.
Celtic got a 96-minute penalty in a game that should have finished at 95 minutes, and I think it's the inconsistency of it. I don't think it was a penalty. I think, you know, people should throw the ball at each other today and see if they can get a ball to go back out for a throw and just hitting it with their hand. They just would not do that. We're only a few days, 72 hours away from Hearts having played at Fir Park, denied what were two clearer penalties. So to not get those and then for Celtic to get that is just gut-wrenching. It's devastating, and everyone seems to be against us. But if we're going to win the title, we're going to have to do it the hard way.
Not everyone agrees, though, specifically those of a Celtic persuasion. Here's the journalist, Angela Haggerty.
Got to say, you know, Celtic fans for years before VAR, right, we have been calling out dubious refereeing decisions for a long time, right, and everyone just called us paranoid and moved on. Now the shoe's on the other foot. The commercial outcry, but I'm expecting the Scottish Government to announce a summit any moment. You know, it's been wild, and the only advice I'd give to Hearts fans is to say this: it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter now. We've been on the receiving end of these things, and it doesn't matter. You can debate it all day long, but it's done. What you need to do is pick yourself up, dust yourself down, and fight, because that's what champions do. That's how champions win.
It doesn't matter. I think Angela might be the only person thinking that this afternoon. Well, our reporter, Selina Jackson, has been looking at the controversy today, and Selina, it's fair to say that it's a fairly big talking point.
Oh, it absolutely is, yeah. Anyone who's been paying attention to the Premiership this season knows that we're no strangers to VAR controversy in this country, particularly where the handball rule comes into play, but few games were quite as consequential as that one between Celtic and Motherwell last night. Now, just for a bit of context, in case anyone has missed it today, Hearts were just seconds away from all but securing the title for the first time since 1960. They were 3 goals to the good against Falkirk. Celtic were being held to a draw by Motherwell, which would have meant Hearts went into the showdown at Celtic Park on Saturday 3 points ahead and with a 6-goal advantage. But the penalty that Celtic scored in the 99th minute means Hearts are now just a point clear. The title is still very much within Hearts' grasp, but it's also much more achievable for Celtic now too. So if they can win that match, the trophy will be returning to Parkhead. So that penalty and the circumstances under which it was awarded have proved hugely controversial. I think it's fair to say Hearts boss Derek McInnes was pretty furious at full time. Here's what he had to say to Sky Sports.
It's disgusting. It is. I don't think it's a penalty kick.
but we're up against it. We're up against everybody, and we'll be ready for Saturday.
But for Celtic boss Martin O'Neill, it was the right decision.
It's a handball. It looks as if there's also an elbow to the side of the head as well too. But the VAR have asked the referee to come over and have a look at it, and he's no hesitation giving a penalty.
I'm not sure anybody would be surprised by what the two managers have said about this.
No.
Have the SFA said anything?
They haven't, no. We know that the reason that the refereeing team at Fir Park decided to award that penalty last night was because they deemed that Sam Nicholson, that's the Motherwell player's hand or arm, was in an unnatural position when it was struck by the ball in the box. Now, that is one of the circumstances in which IFAB, the body which sets the rules, says a handball offence has been committed. But of course, it's that unnatural position requirement that so many people are now arguing about, because they say there's no certain way to judge that.
And has there been any further reaction from clubs involved? Because we've heard there from both Hearts and Celtic, but Motherwell seems to have been forgotten about in all of this, and it was the penalty that was awarded against them.
Yeah, they possibly have. I mean, this was a really important game for them as well, because don't forget, they're still battling against Hibs for a European spot, so their manager, Jens Bertolascu, was really pretty astounded by how things had panned out at full time. Here's what he had to say.
It feels completely unreal, and I think it's a shame that a game between two teams who really, produced a very, very intense and good football game with extreme high tempo at times, a lot of emotions, great crowd, gets decided in a situation like that.
We also heard a wee bit from Motherwell midfielder Elliot Watt last night, who tweeted after the game that he thought it was the worst VAR decision in history.
And it all moves then on to this Saturday, where the two teams face off at Selkirk Park.
It does, as if the stakes weren't already high enough. I mean, this title race has totally captured the attention of people across the country and further afield as well, of course. So all eyes will be firmly on Celtic Park for this blockbuster conclusion to what's been a really entertaining, turbulent, unpredictable season. Now, of course, that is a very small matter of who takes charge of that game, isn't there? So the SFA have confirmed today that the man in the middle will be Don Robertson and Kevin Clancy will be on VAR. I'm sure that those two men and the tens of thousands of fans who will be watching on will be hoping that the conversations on Saturday evening are just about the match and not about how their decisions have potentially shaped the outcome.
Selena, thank you very much indeed. I'm really hoping that we don't have to talk about it the whole way through tomorrow until the match on Saturday, but you never know.
Don't count on it.
Yeah, Selena Jackson there. Now, to the other main story that's happening today, and where we need vision, we have a vacuum. That was Wes Streeting's critique of the current Labour leadership as he resigned as the UK's Health Secretary. But he still hasn't declared his intention to replace Sir Keir Starmer as leader of the party. One of his supporters, the Central Ayrshire MP Alan Gemmell, has been speaking about why he's supporting Wes Streeting.
I think this is a brave and principled decision by Wes, who's a huge talent for our party and has been a talent in our government transforming our NHS. But having taken a decision that he doesn't have confidence in the Prime Minister, he's had to leave the government.
So, if there is a leadership contest, and of course at the moment there isn't, you would back him in that leadership contest?
Yeah, I think he's a huge talent. I think he has ideas for our party, and as he says in his letter, we need a change of direction. We've had vacuum rather than vision and drift rather than direction.
And in terms of the timetable of what should happen next, obviously that is to a certain extent in the hands of the Prime Minister. What do you want to see happen now?
Well, look, as Wes sets out in his letter, we want a change of direction. I know that Wes had support from a sufficient number of MPs to call for a change of leader, but we know that MPs and unions want to have a broad debate about the future direction of our party, and that's when I'm excited that we will start.
And obviously tough election results in Scotland. Is Wes positioned to be a strong UK leader for Scottish Labour? He's taken a tough stance on the Constitution.
Well, we've seen dreadful results across our country. I spoke to some thousands, I think, of voters in Ayrshire since October last year, and it's really clear the Prime Minister has lost the confidence of many, many people, including in Ayrshire, and I'm confident that Wes would be able to take a fight to the SNP and win back our country.
Central Ayrshire MP Alan Gemmell there talking to our correspondent Paris Gwertsianis. We'll hear from Paris in just a second. Streeting's name isn't the only one being bandied about, though, as a potential successor to Sir Keir Starmer. The former deputy leader of the party, Angela Rayner, chose today to announce that she's been cleared of any wrongdoing in relation to her tax affairs. And another name that's entered the frame is the Aberdeenshire-born Defence Minister Al Cairns. He's emerged as a sort of a surprise potential challenger. In the midst of all of this, the Chancellor Rachel Reeves has warned about the economic risks of a leadership contest, suggesting it could plunge the country into chaos. Well, previously trailed, Paris Gortsianis is with us. This
Hello.
is kind of the moment that we've been waiting for the last few days, Paris, but bring us up to speed with what's actually happening now.
Well, indeed, quite a lot's happened, but we also still find ourselves in a bit of a stalemate. So, yes, as you say, Westminster was waiting for Wes Streeting to take this action, resign from the government, say that the Prime Minister no longer had his confidence. But we don't yet have a leadership contest, because for that to happen, someone, Wes Streeting or anyone else, needs to send in a list of 81 names, signatures, nominating them as a candidate to the Labour executive. And then we have a contest in which, by the way, the Prime Minister would automatically be a candidate, and he says that he will fight. So what's happened basically is Wes Streeting has said in his letter he wants the Prime Minister to stand down, to name a timetable for his own departure, incidentally a timetable that leaves enough time for other candidates to stand, potentially Andy Burnham, the Greater Manchester Mayor, who needs to find a Westminster seat. Wes Streeting supporters that I've spoken to say that basically the ball is in the Prime Minister's court and it's time for him to take the hint.
What about those other names that are in the frame? So we talked about Wes Streeting, Andy Burnham. There's some chat that he might be able to stand in a by-election in Scotland. It hasn't been ruled out by Scottish Labour, which would seem odd.
It would. Of course, the only two by-elections that are coming up as things stand are, of course, in Scotland, seats that were vacated by SNP MPs who have now just been elected and sworn into the Scottish Parliament. I would take that one with a pinch of salt because Labour performed had a tough night and performed pretty badly in those areas of Scotland. Obviously, I think Andy Burnham will be much more comfortable with a safe Labour seat. Of course, again, there aren't many safe Labour seats out there because Labour performed so badly in England against Reform across the north of England. So Andy Burnham's fate is one thing. You have Angela Rayner, who as of today says that she has resolved this question of her tax, the stamp duty that she paid on her second home.
Interesting timing, that one, isn't it? That today it's come out that she's fine.
We learned that actually she found this out on Tuesday, but clearly expecting that a leadership contest may be on the way. She's chosen to announce it today. It obviously means that there's no further action against her by the HMRC, but some might argue that she still faces political problems for having had this row come up at all. She could stand as the candidate from the left of the Labour Party if Andy Burnham isn't able to. And then finally, Al Cairns, Scottish, Aberdeen, born and raised, military veteran, defence minister, represents a seat in England.
Where's he come from, Paris? Because, his name's just popped up out of nowhere, it would seem.
Yeah, he's only been an MP since 2024, so he is seen as an outsider, an outside chance for the leadership. But he has a small band of really committed supporters who have been talking him up for some time. They say he's very impressive. He has, he's a decorated military veteran with multiple tours of service in Afghanistan, former Royal Marine Commando. This does happen in leadership contests. You get outsiders who try and raise their profile. Maybe they don't expect to win, but potentially to grab a bigger seat at the table around the cabinet of whoever does win. His supporters have said if there is a contest, a formal contest, then he will stand.
So where does this leave us now? We have no health secretary. Do we know if another health secretary going to be appointed? Do we know whether anybody has the numbers to sort of trigger this race, or does it just sit in this holding pattern?
I'm afraid TBC on all of those. I expect the UK government will name a new health secretary before too long, because obviously Keir Starmer says that it's business as usual and he's carrying on. Clearly, I think the position as things stand, though, isn't particularly sustainable. But
explain it to me, because we're sort of looking at this going, fuel everywhere is going up in price, but is there actually a shortage of jet fuel at the moment, and is that what's going to push these prices up?